development and strategic consulting. He speaks at major platforms across the world, inspiring individuals and organizations to think boldly, act strategically, and prepare for the future. He's also a best-selling author and a respected voice on cultural transformation and purposeful leadership. Through a unique blend of deep insights, spiritual intelligence, and practical strategy, Kunle Soriyan continues to shape conversations on leadership, innovation, and Africa's role in the global future. Ladies and gentlemen, with a standing ovation, can we make welcome Dr. Kunle Soriyan? Please, our applause can be louder. Please, can we keep clapping? He's not far from the stage. He will be here shortly. If you clap faster, he would come quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a blessing to be here. Please be seated. I appreciate the opportunity. Sorry. This is as clear as the other one. Just that I needed to change it for. I'm going to have to come down for my keynote. You're going to forgive me. I know the keynote speaker should stand behind this thing, but it doesn't work for me. It's a scanty crowd. I always like to connect, so I'll just move closer so that I can see everybody. So I just want to, first of all, recognize everybody here, my fellow speakers, my fellow speaker, my brother Ugo. Thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you. It's always a blessing to see you and to enjoy the blessing of your work. Thank you. And our convener, Dr. Gift, such a strong woman, very clear, defined, and doing her best to contribute to changing the African narrative. You know, it's always a pleasure. I cannot imagine being called for efforts like this and not show up for it, right? I really want to thank you for standing in the arena and giving it your best shot, right? It's with many efforts like this that we're going to bridge the gap and build the whole that we all seek for, all right? Man of God, good to see you. And good to see everybody, all protocol observed. This Abuja is the city of government. Everybody knows how to talk and know how to give the protocols to who deserves it. So I won't be doing all of that, so just forgive me. So reimagining Africa for me begins with our maturity in telling the African story. You know, in telling our story, right? And people believe that stories are hard to tell in environments that are weaved in disequilibrium of all kinds, injustices, lack and struggle, both socioeconomically and politically. And people kind of think that a commitment to tell stories the right way in that kind of environment is pretty much like a commitment to lie, you know, or to give to that environment what it does not deserve. And that is suggestive or suggesting that a level of perfection must prevail in a society for us to tell a story as it should be, right? Only because a lot of religious people and a lot of moralists have continued to attempt to understand nation building within the curriculum of faith, of words like morality, decency, you know, and all of those words. And coming from somebody like me, if you are not familiar with this type of thought, you may even call what I'm saying some form of heresy, blasphemy, or whatever you want to call it. But I'll tell you something. First of all, if you don't have the capacity to sit in imperfections and to define new meanings and the next level of things through the box called imperfections, you will be around and you will do many things. But the greatest things in life that unlock the attention of the most relevant people in life and unlock gratitude at a scale will never be experienced by you, simply because you are going to live and die within the limits of right and wrong. When your maturity comes, and that is true for individuals, it's true for families, it's true for nations, it's true for organizations. When your maturity comes, a type of clarity must be resident within you that transcends the limits of right and wrong and elevates to the necessity of the needful. As far as nation building is concerned, affairs of state is concerned, national security is concerned, right? It is naive to think outside of the weight and the blessing of imperfections, because the environment, the systems, or the structures that can communicate perfection will never be found. And so a lot of meaning is defined in spite of that which is imperfect. Right? You really must understand that what is needful is by far bigger than what is right or even what is wrong. And the best example I like to give, I'm a Christian, so I like to model Christ as much as I can, both in my thinking and in my conversations. And for those who are Muslims here, please forgive me. I'm not evangelizing. It could have been a story of anything. I'm just using this as a necessary analog, just to understand the context that I'm sharing. So, Jesus, according to scriptures, did not commit any crime, did not commit any sin. It was right for Jesus to live because he didn't offend anybody. It was wrong for him to die because he didn't offend anybody as well, right? But it was needful for him to die. That is what scripture says. If God sticks to the limits of right and wrong, there will be no reference for why Jesus should die for anybody, because somebody who didn't commit any sin, who didn't commit any crime, should not die the death of a criminal, right? So at a level, you must understand that everything flawed is imperfect, but there are so many things imperfect that are not flawed at all. And most people don't understand that, because the only way they are able to relate with imperfection is to underscore the necessity of flawedness. Flawedness itself is necessary. If there is no foolishness in the world, there will be no articulation for wisdom. If there is somebody must be foolish, as a matter of fact, for wisdom to continue to have value. There's nothing you can do about it. If everybody is wise and very few people are foolish, I kid you not, there will be no reward for wisdom today. There will be plenty reward for foolishness. Because what brings reward is not the flashiness of a thing or the soundness of a thing, but the rarity of a thing. If wisdom is common and foolishness is rare, salaries will be paid today for how foolish people are, for how stupid people are, just because it will be a rare experience in the human condition, right? The reason why we pay for wisdom and we reward wisdom is not because it makes people live well. In fact, the reason why you know about wellness is because foolishness is more common than wisdom. If foolishness is what is rare, you will despise wisdom with joy, because it will have been what anybody and any fool can do. There are things everybody can do that nobody gets paid for. You don't need formal training to know how to be stupid. You don't need to go to a classroom to know how to be foolish. You don't need anybody to train you or coach you to know how to be stupid or to know how to be unguarded or to know how to keep malice or to be unforgiving, right? But for you to build anything meaningful, you will need some form of organized learning. You will need some form of formal training. You will need to graduate beyond the existential reasons that define words like luck, providence, and bring some science and protocol to how you move and how you organize and how you penetrate, so to, as it were. So the idea is that if we are going to do anything, just like we do it ourselves, there's no individual on the face of the earth who can advance into the future positively and create success if it is not also going to learn to tolerate himself. You don't build excellence by not having some form of tolerance for that which you are yet to perfect or that which you are yet to learn. The Americans always speaks about perfecting their own union, going towards perfection, leading their union towards perfection. Because there's nothing on the face of the earth that can be perfect. If the Garden of Eden was perfect, Satan will not be there. If the Garden of Eden was perfect, it would not require nurturing or cultivation of any kind. If Adam was perfect, Eve would be unnecessary. If today was perfect, tomorrow will be unnecessary. It is the imperfection of today that gives relevance to those who are living tomorrow or those who are going to be engaged tomorrow. If everything in this room can be perfected today and nothing else in this room requires improvement, then this room will be useless from tomorrow, as a matter of from today. The only reason why tomorrow's people have something to do is because today we end, and it will end in an imperfect way, such that the deficit between that which is done and that which is undone becomes the responsibility of tomorrow's people. Are we all here? So maturity demands that we do not babysit ourselves, yes, but we must be alive to the blessing that is trapped in the whole idea of imperfection. This wristwatch is a very nice watch that I'm wearing, but this wristwatch is not perfect. It's not perfect. Your phone looks beautiful and awesome, but your phone is not perfect. iPhone 13 was beautiful, amazing phone. But if it was perfect, there will never be iPhone 14. iPhone 14 was in iPhone 13 as a loophole and as an imperfection. What happened was that tomorrow's people who created iPhone 13 knew that if you are going to wait for the best iPhone, maybe iPhone 2000 or iPhone 1 million to come out, we will never bring iPhone out. And so what do? We have to find the best state that an iPhone can exist and offer that to the people while we continue to tweak and work on the perfection that we seek. Now, the best state of a thing is not the highest state of the thing. The best state of a thing is the state where prevailing people, those who live today, can find engagement and continuity while we continue to work on a higher version of the same thing that is in your hand. So a Mercedes-Benz today looks like an awesome car, made in 2025, sold in 2025, owned in 2025, driven in 2025. But in 10 years' time, the same Mercedes-Benz will feel like a coffin and nobody's going to pay for it, right? Because there will be a higher version of that same thing that we celebrated today that will come into the horizon. So on our best day, we are producing something that is in a state of existence, is in a phase of development, and a season of usefulness. That is the only way people define growth. That is the only way people are able to produce and bring meaning to the present. You must have that maturity to accept the imperfection of a thing, but to also find its best state in the moment without losing focus of its highest state tomorrow. You see, that is how we grow. And when you see people who try to criticize, who try to pull people down based on prevailing ideas, they miss the whole point about potential. They miss the whole point about redemption. They miss the whole point about so many things because they are staying within the limits of what they can see and measure. But the biggest things in life, once something is made, the biggest thing can never be what is made. Once something is made, it has lost its capacity to remain as the biggest thing. The biggest thing you see in the world are not the highest things you see in the world. The biggest things you see in the world are always ahead of anything made. Are we on the same page? Once you have that kind of understanding, without that understanding, you can't help a flawed, in quote, Africa. Because Africa has history. We have history. Some of these histories were not our fault. Some of them were our fault. We grew on the basis of different levels of assumptions. For one, what is Africa? We like to talk about Africa like, I was telling someone that in the world, we pretend like we are leading, and then those who are being led pretend that they are following. I don't know if you understand that, but that is what I found. What I found in most families, in most businesses. you find that the leaders are pretending that they are leading because they're not leading anything, particularly in Africa. And then the followers too are that's what happens when you go out to vote every time. You pretend that you are really making a decision that's going to change something, and those you are voting for also pretend that your vote matter. But when it is expanded, you realize that there's so much dynamic within that space that puts almost zero value on your vote and zero value on the expectation of the politician. Symposium discussion you can have for the next 100 years, you will not end it. But to bring this home, I say to people, there is an audacity that has to exist within those who take responsibility for how Africa is experienced. Africa is a geography filled with different cultures, filled with different assumptions, all kinds of norms and traditions, all kinds of things. We are not the same people. I don't know about you, but you make it to Cairo, you see that we are completely different from the North Africans. The Bantus in the west of Africa have some things in common, but when I go to Ghana, I still don't see my brothers. You find a way of calling them your brothers, but these are not my brothers. These are people who are brothers to me in the way that a white man is a brother to me, because we are all human beings. But in terms of the exercise of the supreme ideas that matter to me, on many levels, whether I'm in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, or in Nigeria, whether I'm in the east or in the north, I realize that my destiny is always in my hands, regardless of who says my brother. Are we on the same page? Compared to the kind of sentiments I enjoy from my siblings in my house, where we actually try to articulate what real brotherhood is. Are we on the same page? So I'm saying to you that we have inherited something called Africa. We like to pretend that it belongs to all of us. We like to pretend that there's common history that defines it. That pretense probably is necessary, because I've written an article on the necessity of pretense. Because if we don't have such attitude within how we define reality, we probably will just continue to, play in the name of organizing. If we have to organize, a part of us must be matured enough to do stuff like mentor evil. To do stuff like give darkness direction, right? Since there is no articulation for light without darkness, you are not going to have light without having darkness as its meaning. Are we on the same page? You are not going to have darkness without having light as its meaning. You are not going to have good without having evil standing side by side it. You are not going to have bad or worse without having good side by side it. These are, I don't know whether to call them dichotomies or parallels or whatever you call them. Genius requires that we find a way to work together with these ideas. So when you look at Africa, or you look at Nigeria as a country, for example, you have a choice. You can look at everything going wrong in Nigeria and point fingers to the political class, point fingers to the government, point fingers to everybody. You will be right. We have bad rules, correct. PDP is crazy, correct. APC is mad, correct. Labour is crazy, stupid, yeah, correct. You can go all of that, but when you are done, a question will come in your spirit. What do you want? Do you want to be correct, or you want to progress? Because if you want to be correct, you don't need to do anything. Just sit down in a corner and continue to point fingers at everybody. NEPA is stupid, the roads are bad, and you will always be correct. But when it comes to progress, a type of collaboration must exist inside everybody, both the good and the bad, to commit to some form of resolution. So even in a fool, on his best day, resides some dimension of value. Now, the value I carry can be high resolution. The value he carries may be low resolution. But in each of us is a resolution of something awesome in different resolution, and in each of us is something terrible in different resolutions, such that even in good people, the potential for evil on a grand scale exists. And even in bad people, the potential for good on a grand scale exists. Which is my problem really with capital punishment. The idea that a human being can do something, no matter how wrong it is, and then we come out to say that the only way to relate to this human soul is to eliminate it, because we have now judged that this soul has no capacity to experience redemption. So it must be killed, right? So we can consider that, is it possible to move beyond this type of thinking? How do the Americans tell their story, for example? If you go to the United States, you realize that we still don't know who killed J.F. Kennedy. We still don't know who killed Martin Luther King Jr. We still don't know who killed Malcolm X. We don't know so many things that in America, as at 1980-something there, 1960-something, all these criminals that you read about, Al Capone, John Gotti, all these guys lived in America. And America had to grow. Slave trade did not happen. We didn't have slave masters here, so to say. It's Americans who, I said slave trade. I meant racism in the way it was in America and all the segregation and all those experiences, right? They were there. These are people who had to deal with that by themselves, and they had to graduate and elevate in one way or the other as they continue to move towards a perfect union. The union is not perfect, but they can continue to gravitate towards it, right? So police officers were being bribed. Judges were being bribed. Injustice was so rampant. People were being killed. When was Martin Luther killed? Just 1968 or something like that. When was Malcolm X killed? Don't forget, that is less than 50 years ago. That was America, right? But these guys have come to respect their imperfection. And they have something in America, for example, called affirmative action. The idea that we don't have to wait for some perfect theory to give us our peace. We can legislate something and compel people to think and act in a direction, right? So people do stuff just managing the human irrationality. Human beings are genius in everything, including their right to be stupid, foolish, or destructive, right? So if you understand that, you must prepare for that irrationality. There are some things you cannot use any form of determination to deal with. Once something passes the test of certainty, your only response to it is preparation and strategy. For example, you don't solve a fact. Can anybody solve a fact here? Can you solve a fact? Please, what do you solve? Talk to me. What do you solve? So what do you do with a fact? You accept a fact, you walk around fact, you solve problems. You don't solve a fact. You don't accept a problem. But you know what I found? Most people try to solve facts and accept problems. And they wonder why their lives are comatose, their systems are faulty. We must accept facts. There are facts in life. There's nothing you can do about them. Death is a fact. You are going to die. If you are afraid of death, you don't need prayer. You don't need deliverance. If they do that to you, they are indulging you. You are unintelligent. It's not smart to be afraid of certainty. You are going to die. If you are not afraid of death, you are not going to die next week. If you are afraid of death, you are not going to die later. You are going to die when you are going to die, whether you are afraid of death or you are not afraid of death. So if death is sure, your response to death cannot be about being afraid of it, but about two things: preparation and strategy. And some things are certain in life. They are facts. Loss is a fact. You will lose. Betrayal is a fact. Somebody will mess you up. Disappointment is a fact, right? So many things, disloyalty, so many things, including death, are facts. Misbehavior, fact. So, what do you do about those things? What you do about them is to find a quality inside of you that allows you to go forward in spite of those things, not to be stopped because of those things. Are we on the same page? So, in America, you can't choose to have a high fence, except you are going to be successful at a level and pay a lot of money for it. So most homes don't have fences at all. And you may think, oh, so what is this? Why should homes not have fences? Because it gives an illusion of security and peace. Though you and I know that, for example, I live in Texas. Somebody can carry a gun. Somebody can come to your house, knock your door down, and kill everybody in there. And that can happen in your house because you don't have a fence. Anybody can get to your door. But that is a possibility. The government, however, will still not allow you to go erect a tall fence because of that possibility. So what do? We create some form of balance of power. Everybody has a gun. You can't imagine what is in my own house. So you are coming to my house. You think you are a thief. You have no idea how weaponized I am. Maybe I have something worse than what you are carrying to come and rob me. Right? So you don't know. So there's balance of power on many levels that I can explain. But the illusion of security must be protected. That is telling a story. Telling a story of safety. So that when people come into our country, they see low fence, they see that no houses don't have fences, everywhere looks peaceful. They believe this is a good country to invest in. Unlike if you come to Parkview I don't know where is very safe in Abuja, but let me use Lagos, Banana Island. And then from the gates, you see security men armed. All the buildings are tall and with very high fences and all of that. The next thing in your head is that this country is not safe. That's storytelling. Now, nobody's going to write that anywhere. What I just said now, you're not going to read it in any book. I don't want to say a lot of things, but I can tell you some things for free. At times, for a country, when there is a crime, finding the criminal is important. But if for whatever reason you don't find the criminal, finding a criminal may be more important. To defend the illusion that no one gets away with anything here. Now, I know some of you are very righteous people. You may disagree with what I'm saying, only because you don't understand it. Because if you have to tell your story, propaganda is a massive, necessary weapon. Propaganda is not evil. Advertisement. When you go to television and you see Milo, Milo, somebody drinks it and he wins the race. That's a lie. If you like, drink 200 bottles of Milo, you are not going to win any race. But they are selling something to you. They are telling a story that when you get to the purchasing point, your kids are going to compel you to pay for that Milo. It's all propaganda. Advertisement, no matter how legitimate, is a form of propaganda. And so I always say that a company of good people cannot build a nation. Good people are weak. You need people with the helicopter view to be good, but to understand evil. That's why the Bible says, be gentle as a dove, but be wise as a serpent. You need both of them. If all you have in this world is your doviness, you'll be used, abused, taken for granted, cheated, killed even. A part of you must mature to value good, but to understand evil. Come on, am I talking to you? And most people don't understand evil. And when they see people who understand evil, they point fingers at them. You can't lift anything in society. And for those who are Christians, again, I want to tell you this. The Bible says he has set a table before you, not in the presence of your friends, or your allies, or your cousins, or those who love you, or those who hate. A table before you in the presence of your enemies. It means there is a food you cannot eat, except you can sit on the same table, eyeball to eyeball, with evil. So when Christians come to me and say, we want to start this political, we want to do this, I'm like, in a secular state, you are fools. All Muslims come together and say, we are forming this. In a secular state, you are fools. It's not going to work. The elements are against you. It's not going to work. It's going to fail. Am I speaking to you? I have a few minutes more. Please stay with me. So if you understand this level of thinking, I know somebody who ran for president. He ran for president. Of course, he didn't get anywhere, though. And not that that was a shock. We already knew he wasn't going to get anywhere. But a simple question that, do you know you are going to order killing? Do you know you are going to say, okay, I order the killing of this guy? Do you know you are going to do that as president? He said, no. I said, you are a joker. You don't understand. Have you heard about national security? Do you know they are enemies of state? Do you know you are going to be asked as president to take a decision on the life of that person? What do you think judges do when they are in court? Do you know what it means to put a death sentence on someone? Do you know what it means? And to go out of that room and be normal, and talk to your children and be normal and live an okay life. Do you know what it means? You think you can be a judge just because you can pass law exam? Do you know the emotional demands of that kind of responsibility? How much more to say you want to lead a nation and be president of it? What are you talking about? You talk about corruption, you talk about those things. Those are things that are measurable. Do you know how many things are not measurable? They're not even on the table at all, but they are potent more than what is on the table. So I told him, my friend, you cannot be president. You are too good to be president. You cannot. You know, in the West where I come from as a Yoruba man, we say, Olori Ebi Onsoshelu. That is, the head of the family cannot be partisan. You see, you must work with a different helicopter view. So what am I trying to say? First of all, storytelling. We are poor in telling our stories. Do you know I live in Dallas? Do you know how many people are shot every day in Dallas? Do you know how many people carry guns, drugs, and all kinds of things happening in Dallas? Listen to me. Listen to me. The way the media will report these things is unbelievable at times. But when we talk about our policemen, we talk about the worst of our policemen. We talk them down, we call them names, we say all kinds of things, and then you want people to take you seriously in the Committee of Nations. Let me ask you a question. If I'm Roberts walking here now, do you want me to continue this conversation? I have about 10 minutes, so I'll get out of your face. Just let me finish this thought. Are we together? I know we don't have time today. But if killers enter this room, and before they enter, they were coming for Mr. Ugo, my good friend. And they were coming for him. And then we knew that they were coming. So we hid him in a corner in this building. And we know that 200 years from now, they can never find him in that corner. We knew it. And then they come in and they say, Mr. Ugo, where are you? Come out, come out, come out. You know that if he wants to be a good man, he should come out. He should say, I'm here. Because if he remains there, he's lying to the armed robbers that he's not in the room. He's lying to the armed robbers that he's not in the room. Because the fact is, it's in the room. Hiding in that place is distorting the fact that he's in the room. In other words, if lying means distorting the fact, then he is distorting the fact that he's in the room. In other words, he is lying to the killers that he's not in the room. Meanwhile, he's in the room. What you should do, particularly if he's a Christian, you say, let God be true, all men be liars, and just come out. Hello? No, it sounds funny. But you all lie every day by that principle. Doing the needful. Hello? Because you know why he's not lying in that place? Though he's using the weapon of lying. But he is not lying. Do you know why? Because for him to lie, even you can use the weapon of lying without lying. And for that to happen, three things must happen. Number one, you must gain. Two, because of your gain, somebody must lose. And because of those two, God must frown. Now, expand that to that him hiding there. As he's hiding there, is he gaining? Yeah. No. How? What did he gain? No, he already had it. He already had his life. He didn't gain the life. He didn't have more life because he was hiding. It's the same life he had before they came that he had after they left. So he didn't gain anything. He protected what he already has. Did they lose? They didn't lose because they didn't have in the first place. So they lost nothing, they gained nothing. He lost nothing, he gained nothing. So God cannot frown, so he's not lying. Period. Hello? Because if you can establish those two brackets, now, what I'm saying is, as you move in nation building, as you move in transforming a continent like Africa, with our history of slavery, colonialism, all the diversity that blended us together, do you know how many countries are in Nigeria? Do you know how many countries are in this country? They just gathered together, boom, 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 and made you into one entity. You are like maybe 50 countries. So you're disunit. Have you noticed that the poorest countries in the world have many languages? And that the most prosperous countries in the world have one or two. The Germans speak German. The French speak French. The English speak English. How many does the Nigerians? Like 200 and something. For all you care. Think about it. Dealing with all of that, there must be a different way to tell our stories. And I want to challenge you today, good people. I'm here to talk to good people. Those of you who find yourself in documenting history, in attempting to curate the future, attempting to manage the present, a part of you must work with the big picture to understand how sensitive it is to be on the right side of the beautiful experiences that we must experience tomorrow, and to not sacrifice it on the altar of religion in the name of decency or some weak morality that pass the technicality of giving praise to you, but on a grand scale, you are messing up everything. Am I talking to you? So, propaganda. I started with storytelling. We must be able to tell our stories. And think about it. Police officers, are you aware that police officers die for you every day? Have you checked the statistic? To know that police officers actually die for Nigerians. They get shot, they get killed. And this guy, if he dies, you and I know, plus him, that he's dying for nothing. He's not insured. There's there's nothing. He's going to be poor, weak, tired, and useless with his generation, yet unborn. This guy, in case you don't know, that there's nobody born in Ikoyi or in Parkview or in Victoria Island who said, where will you be when you want to grow up? Say, I want to be a police officer. Nobody said that. In Nigeria, nobody said, I want to be a police officer. Just in case you don't know. 95 or 99% of police officers did not plan to be a police officer. They had to be because there's nothing else to become. So it's a bloody job. It's just a job. Now, don't forget that the armed robber and the policeman grew up in the same neighborhood. They are defined by the same poverty. They grew up in the same area. Some of them know each other. They were subjected to the same harsh economic conditions. The same socioeconomic conditions defined them. Both of them did not have the attention their individuality deserved. Both of them did not get the resources that individuality deserved. Both of them did not get the acceptance, respect, education that individuality deserves. Both of them. Then one of them said, I'm tired, I will kill to get a better life. The other one said, I will join the police force. He's already very kind. He has an option. Then he joined the police force as the communication of his highest dignity. He is still subject to the same thing the armed robber is subject to. Now, both of them are hungry. The armed robber has a gun, and because of that, he has a living. You now give the same gun to the police officer and say you won't have a living. I mean, look at how oppressive we are. And then the armed robber is using the gun and he has a living. And his friend, Issa, who they grew up together, does not have a living, yet he carries the same gun. What do you think he's going to do? He's as hungry as the thief, as oppressed as the thief, does not have a future like the thief. His children are insecure like the thief. Everything going on with the thief is going on with him. You now give him a gun and say, protect us. Wow. Protect you? Really? And then he asks you for a bribe. What you call bribe. What is that bribe? He says, oh God, give me something. They say, nonsense. Really? Nonsense? Really? How do you want, so what do you want him to do though? He has a gun. Do you know that you are the one that have a purpose? You are the one that say, I have a purpose, my vision statement. You know he doesn't have any. If he shoots you there, all your purpose is gone. And he can gun you down. So I challenge people. When I'm moving, I put iced drinks in the trunk. We put water. If you have a car, don't go out of in your house without putting some drinks there. When you see policemen, say, open the boot, take something there. Do it. So that they can begin to have a different idea of successful people. That people care. All these are things you get when you mature your mind. I have to get out of your face. You see, there was a time in Nigeria, 2005, 2006, 2004. Planes were dropping in Nigeria from the air. So Soliso, Dana, planes were dropping. That's 2012 even. No, that's 2012, right? That's 2012. Or 2002. 2002 or something. Planes were dropping. You know, I measured it at a point. Planes were dropping. Every time the plane dropped, the flag flies half-mast. They declare a national day of mourning. And all of that happened. But how many people are in a plane? In those periods, maybe about 3 planes dropped. In one domestic plane in Nigeria, it's like 150 people max. 150 people. Because of that, mourning day, flag fly half-mast, and all of that. Now, at that time, every month, 300 women are going to die from childbirth complications. 300 women are going to die every month. That's how many planes? Talk to me. How many planes? 2 planes. Now, at the end of the year, 12 months, how many planes? By the 300 women that are dying every month. That's 24 planes. That's like 24 plane accidents has happened with 150 times 24 lives compared to one plane crash that happened. Now, why do you have half flag mast? Why do you have National Mourning Day? Because those who died in that plane are more important to you than the no-name children and no-name women, 300 of them who died every month for the next 12 months and nobody said anything. No flag is flying half mast, or there's no flag moving anywhere. There's no National Mourning Day, nothing. So how do we tell our stories? How do you represent that kind of society? So when people ask me, I was in a room, a fellow Nigerian like myself in the United States was in the room. And then some Caucasians began to speak about Nigeria and Africa. And then they said some very nasty things that were fact to be true. And this young man stood up and said, well, it's not that kind of Nigerian. I'm not that kind of Nigerian. I'm a different Nigerian. I'm a different African. And he went on and on. And he thought he had said something wise. So when it was my turn, I said, you are not a different Nigerian. I started by talking to him. You're not a different Nigerian. You are the default Nigerian. You are the real Nigerian. These guys that you are describing, they are the different Nigerians. Come on now. Can you see the thin line? The criminals you are defining are the different Nigerians. You and I are the real Nigerians. We are the normal Nigerians. These criminals they are defining are not the Nigerians. They are the different Nigerians who are attempting to discolor who we are. We are the majority. Yeah. I said, so how do you define the minority and use that definition to define the weight and the character of an entire nation? That is like me going to the jail in the American system and picking out all the criminals there and define America by the Americans in jail, as opposed to defining America by the Americans walking free and those that I know. That's called narrative. So I'm never going to sit down anywhere to say Nigerian leaders are corrupt. How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you even say Nigerian leaders are corrupt without admitting that Nigerians are corrupt? Or is your leadership imported? Did they import Nigerian leadership? Is it outsourced to foreigners? Is it not picked from among Nigerians? So think that way, people. So my advice to us as I drop this microphone is that we elevate our consciousness to a level where we accept our imperfections. We accept our struggle. We agree that we are not where we should be. But that if you are ever going to live here, we're not going to do so by murdering ourselves, by defeating our own story, and bringing ideas, BID, brought in dead, but being matured enough to underscore that which is failing and incomplete, but to seek that loophole in it. That loophole is the imperfection that tomorrow's people must build solution blueprints around on. So how does that even work? In 2 minutes, I'll tell you. So you see this phone. This phone looks like it's a perfect phone. This phone is existing in a state of existence that you see this phone. But when we are matured, we must first of all accept that even if we cannot see it, we must admit that this phone is imperfect. And that the imperfection of this phone is what we must find, not the excellence of it. So if we find the imperfection of this phone, then we build solution blueprints around that imperfection to define the next level of this phone. So this phone that you see, as beautiful as it is in a state of existence, it's in a state of existence that you see, it's in a phase of development that you do not see, and it's in a season of usefulness that you see. So what are the two things you see? Is season of usefulness. What is the next thing you see? Is state of existence. But is phase, P-H-A-S-E, of development you do not see. So the societies you respect, they don't camp around the season of usefulness of a thing. They don't camp around the state of existence of a thing. They camp around the phase of development of a thing. And when you do that, you are camping around the loopholes, the problems, the imperfections. And then you are building solution blueprints around that to define the next level of that thing. That is why everything in life will experience an upgrade, because that upgrade is always built from that which is imperfect. Even in judging yourself, you cannot focus on everything wrong and forget the few things you are doing right. If you are ever going to grow, you have to honor the things you do right. You don't take your eyes off the things you do wrong, but you don't look at the things you do wrong as the definition of who you are. You look at the things you do wrong as the chance for your entire being to experience newness. And as you walk around this thing that you do not do well, is how your entire destiny will find newness and a better version of yourself. Does that make sense? So in that regard, Nigeria doesn't have any problem. We have loopholes. We have a lot of things incomplete. We are managing a system of government that is completely foreign to our DNA as Africans. Democracy is not us. Capitalism is not us. Hello? All the systems of government that we have embraced are not us. A lot of things work here. A lot of things don't work here. Some things will never work here. The courage to find those things that are unique to ourselves will make all the difference. And there are only 3 people who can do that in any society. We are in a country where there is an over-dependence on government and politicians. And the real agents of change in any society are entrepreneurs, innovators, and civil society. Civil societies find the problem, complain about the problem, amplify the problem. Innovators design solutions for the problem that civil society amplifies. And entrepreneurs package that problem into a solution that people can pay for. That is how nations grow, not through governments. The Americans document their own. They did a documentary called The Men Who Built America. They didn't say the politicians who built it. They didn't say the political party who built it. They said the men who built it. And it is you and I that can begin to grow in how we see, how we hear, how we interpret, how we focus, how we judge, how we take action. If we improve in that, we can see things in their state of existence. We can see things in their season of usefulness, but we can also see things in the phase of development and focus on that one. Good or bad, on our best day, on our worst day, our focus must always be on our phase of development, not our state of existence and not our season of usefulness. We focus on the phase of development, the only bracket that promises newness. When a whole majority of a people are already trained to criticize that zone, they will never grow. When societies are solid and good, it's because they've graduated, elevated beyond the pettiness of criticizing that zone, but of building solution blueprints from that zone. And that's how we grow. And that's the only way we are going to change the African narrative. In reimagining that, everything we call learning will be disrupted. We have to learn differently. Academics is not in the future, as you know. Education is in the future. Authority in the future is not the truth. The truth is the authority in the future. As we mature, we must begin to understand that anything created by man has a lifespan, right? And the courage to accept 0 to 1 type of thinking, to believe that we can do things on our own terms, to believe that we can create even words and adjectives, that we can define meaning on our own terms. I mean, think about it. The first person to certify people, who certified him? Who did? The first person that said it is life coaching, who certified him and made him a life coach? The biggest ideas are in 0 to 1. When you brand 0 to 1, you make 1 and say 1 to infinity is where the masses must be. So the whole world is telling you, grow between 1 to infinity, so that they can take your eyes off 0 to 1. And 0 to 1 is where the real power is. Improvement will not change the world. Inventiveness will change the world. The reason why China will be big but never become the superpower, everybody believes China will take over the world except the Chinese himself, is because he has built an incredible enterprise on the energy of copy. It's called 1 to infinity. You will disagree. But nations that will control the future or at any time in history must function between 0 to 1. 0 to 1 takes courage. It takes boldness. It takes a sense of adventure. I call it adventure capital. It takes audacity to name something on your own terms, to believe that this is how this must go and compel the world to accept it on your terms, right? That is the way to go. They say there is a table in the world. That table will not be given to anybody, right? That table will be given to you by nobody. You will be on that table on your terms, or you will build your own table. And I say to people, once you are not on the table, you are on the menu. Once you are not on the menu, you miss that one, that you're either a dog or Lazarus under the table. When you are smart, your courage is to say, we can build something. It doesn't have to pass the test of popularity, but it can pass the test of essence, particularly the one we define. And if we choose to stay on that course, it's only a matter of time. We may win, we may lose, but we will never be guilty of not trying something. That's right. That's how it works, okay? So let's work with that. Listen to our other friends today. Pick up something. Make sure you document. Pick one or two things. Don't write down big words. Focus on only 2 brackets. What I will stop doing, what I will begin to do. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you are. The essence of this, we have great minds in the room. More minds are still coming to share with us today and to multiply the contents that we have known until now. But if we focus on the simple things that people will say here and ask ourselves the biggest question of all, the test of transformation is not recall. The test of transformation is the capacity to create change. When you are really creating change, it's not the ability to reproduce something in your brain. It's to build something with your hands. With that kind of thinking, we can change a lot. So I challenge you, only live in 2 brackets. In this room today, once you are hearing the speakers, as you are hearing me, the question before you is, what will I stop doing? And what will I begin to do? That is the energy of change. So take that in, and let's keep multiplying. God bless you. Thank you.